We thought you was a toad. Do not seek the treasure. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou is a 2000 drama/comedy set in rural Mississippi during the Great Depression. The film is loosely, an emphasis on loosely, based on Homer's The Odyssey. It was written, directed, and produced by the Coen brothers. Oh Brother contains fantastic award-winning music. Woo, boy, that was a mighty fine a-picking and a-singing! This film got me through graduate school. I still turn to it when I need my spirits lifted. How spec do you want them chains knocked off? Well, ain't this place a geographical oddity? 2 weeks from everywhere. Can't you see it, Everett? Them sirens done this to Pete. They loved him up and turned him into a horny toad. In my mind, this is an Elite 8 caliber film. But the people have spoken, and the Soggy Bottom Boys don't find the treasure on account of their obstacles. Oh Brother falls 38% to 62% to Fellowship of the Ring.
You are entering a world of pain. 1998's The Big Lebowski was written and directed by the Coen brothers. Jeff Bridges plays Jeffrey Lebowski, or as he prefers to be called, the Dude. The plot happens to the Dude rather than the other way around, as he is embroiled in a game of cat and mouse with various cats, including the eponymous Big Lebowski, a group of ridiculous German nihilists, and mogul Jackie Treehorn. Mr. Treehorn treats objects like women, man. Jeff Bridges is brilliant, and so is John Goodman. I love the contradictions of a character like Walter Sobchak. Look, Larry, have you ever heard of Vietnam? You're entering a world of pain, son. You're killing your father, Larry! Our internet-connected compatriots voted 4-1 for The Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man. It's just one thing, dude. You have to use so many cuss words.
Buzz, your girlfriend. Woof! This film is every kid's dream. Your parents and siblings leave you by yourself. There's nobody to tell you what to do. And as a bonus, you get to play the hero in your very own Christmas classic, transforming your home into an elaborate and cunning series of booby traps and outwitting a pair of grown-ups. Home Alone came out in 1990, and I learned that the film grossed $476.7 million, making it the highest-grossing live-action comedy ever. It held that record until it was overtaken by The Hangover Part 2 in 2011. 21 years later. There are some worthy thematic elements in this film, such as the importance of family and the idea that it's never too late to reconcile with them. Unfortunately for poor Kevin, he could not outwit Hannibal Lecter, who ate Kevin's liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti on his way to the Sweet 16.
Hey, a laser! How come you don't have a laser, Woody? It's not a laser! It's a little light bulb that blinks. The first entirely computer animated feature film, 1995's Toy Story, is a technical marvel and a perfect movie. It's a case study in how adhering to traditional pillars of visual communication allows a work of art to hold up over time, even as technology advances. It still looks great. Toy Story might be about how our relationships with our children change as they grow. Cleverly, the film embeds a motif for 1995's boomer parents to enjoy. Namely, the transition in the interest of American children in the American Old West to the space race, as would have occurred in their formative years, and as symbolized by Andy's transition from cowboy doll Woody to Space Ranger Buzz Lightyear. Okay, Mr. Lightbeer, prove it. You're mocking me, aren't you? At the same time it's doing all that, it's also a hilarious buddy comedy about sentient toys. How dare you open a spaceman's helmet on an uncharted planet? My eyeballs could have been sucked from their sockets. As Raiders of the Lost Ark triumphs with 2/3 of the vote, Toy Story soars to infinity and beyond. You uncultured swine! The word I'm searching for, I can't say, because there's preschool toys present.
I need the reason. Don't say money. Why do this? Because the house always wins. Play the game long enough, never change the stakes, the house takes you. Unless, when that perfect hand comes along, you bet big and then you take the house. You've been practicing that speech a little bit. Did I rush it? It felt like I rushed it. Behold, the shiny gold standard for heist films. There's no deep meaning to this film. It's a pure, unadulterated caper that is flat out fun and distinctly cool from beginning to end. Ocean's 11 has everything that you'd want from a film of this genre. Great music that always manages to hit the right notes during the story. I particularly love the placement of Claire de Lune as the crew takes in the majestic fountains of Bellagio after their successful heist. A host of colorful characters portrayed by fantastic actors. My name is Lyman Zerga. A spectacular setting. Las Vegas, huh? America's playground. Witty dialogue. I'm not sure what 4 nines does, but the ace, I think, is pretty high. And a thrilling, unforgettable payoff. Alas, though, Ocean's simply cannot compete with juggernaut Shawshank, which takes 81% of the vote, sets up Ocean for 10 years, has the bank seize his house, and bankrupts his brother-in-law's tractor dealership.
This is a karate dojo, not a knitting class. 1984's The Karate Kid is a classic 80s sports story with a big heart. Show me sand the floor. Show me side to side. Ralph Macchio stars as Daniel LaRusso, a fish out of water having just moved from New England to California. Daniel's family is lower income, and his new peers are well-to-do, including Elizabeth Shue's Allie, who Daniel quickly falls for. It's like the whole world's gone blonde. This gets Daniel on the wrong side of Allie's ex, karate student Johnny Lawrence. Daniel's in over his head, being bullied by Johnny and all of his friends. Luckily for him, his new landlord, Mr. Miyagi, takes a special interest. Mr. Miyagi teaches Daniel karate, yes, but balance in all things. In stark contrast to Johnny Lawrence being taught no mercy from his sensei. Sweep the leg. You got a problem with that? Get Karate Kid a body bag, because this round's All-Valley Tournament champion is Goodwill Hunting with 51% of the vote. Get him a body bag! Yeah! The best around.
Mock, yeah. Ing, yeah. Bird, yeah. 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 Dumb and Dumber is a 1994 slapstick comedy starring Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels, and I like it a lot. I love the soundtrack to this film and think that the chosen songs brilliantly accentuate the humor of the film. In particular, I love the despairing notes inflected by the Crash Test Dummies song as Harry hitchhikes alone on a deserted Nebraska highway. I'll once again reference my uncle who introduced me to this film, and he said that every scene in this movie is funny. I agree and think that that's what makes this such a rarity among comedies, many of which only manage to be funny in doses, and in some cases, the entirety of a comedy's humor is contained in the brief promotional trailer. This movie is on my very short list of favorite comedies, but in the end, it takes a high-velocity snowball to the face in close proximity, falling to Braveheart.
I want you to hit me as hard as you can. Gentlemen, welcome to Fight Club. 1999's Fight Club is another David Fincher-directed film. It starts off prosaic enough with Edward Norton's insomniac office worker, and it just devolves to these unthinkable depths that are too gripping to turn from. It deals with what it means to become a man, in a time when there's no great struggle against which boys can test their mettle, except the one lurking within. Fight Club loses big to Princess Bride. I am Jack's complete lack of surprise.
Independence Day is a 1996 sci-fi action film about an alien invasion of Earth. A motley crew bands together to save the world from annihilation, including brash, swagtastic combat pilot Stephen Hiller, played by Will Smith. Welcome to Earth. Dauntless U.S. President Whitmore, played by Bill Pullman, environmentally conscious cable repairman David Levinson, and eccentric Vietnam vet Russell Case, played by Randy Quaid, who picked a good day to quit drinking.
Hello, boys.
I'm back! The big motif here is the classic unite or fall, as President Whitmore says in his classic call to arms speech. And should we win the day, the 4th of July will no longer be known as an American holiday, but as the day when the world declared in one voice, we will not go quietly into the night, we will not vanish without a fight. There's also some fun irony in this film. Despite their vast technological advantages, the aliens cannot detect the humans' use of the primitive Morse code that they use to organize their worldwide counteroffensive. Nor can they overcome the virus that David embeds within the mothership using the aliens' own spacecraft. I ain't heard no fat lady. Forget the fat lady. You're obsessed with fat lady. Drive us out of here. 24 years later, Independence Day is still a very fun film to watch. But it makes the fatal mistake of trying to carry the Grail past the Great Seal, falling to the Last Crusade, which claimed 57% of the vote.
Is this heaven? It's Iowa. 1989's Field of Dreams is such a beloved feel-good movie. It's hard to say what it's about exactly. Kevin Costner's Ray mows over his livelihood to build a baseball field, which somehow connects people through baseball to their past and allows them to hope again. No, I meant, what do you want? Oh, dog and a beer. I think it deals with the changes over time in American culture, the breakdowns, and how the act of a simple game of catch with your dad can cure the soul. Good feelings weren't enough to ease its pain as Star Wars A New Hope takes the day with 75%. I think voters had two 50s and moved right on into the 70s. Step aside, you Nazi cow.
Mr. Stratford, it's just a party, and hell is just a sauna. 10 Things I Hate About You is a 1999 teenage romantic comedy based on The Taming of the Shrew by William Shakespeare, starring Julia Stiles as the Shrew, the dearly departed Heath Ledger as the mysterious bad boy with a soft side, Joseph Gordon-Levitt as new student Cameron, and Larissa Olenek as Cameron's love interest Bianca, who is Kat Stratford's sister. I burn, I pine, I perish. This is a charming, funny movie with quality writing. Expressing my opinion is not a terrorist act. The way you expressed your opinion to Bobby Ridgway? By the way, his testicle retrieval operation went quite well, in case you're interested. With the exception of antagonist Joey Donner, most of the characters experience a kind of real growth during the film, transcending their stereotypes and placement in the social pecking order. I really loved Larry Miller's portrayal of Walter Stratford, Kat and Bianca's father. All right, wait a minute. No drinking, no drugs, no kissing, no tattoos, no piercings, no ritual animal slaughters of any kind. Oh God, I'm giving them ideas. Whoops! My insurance does not cover PMS. Even Ledger's iconic serenading of Kat, accompanied by the marching band, is not enough to propel 10 Things past Return of the Jedi, which advances by claiming 68% of the vote.
2009's Inglourious Basterds is very Tarantino. It takes his classic motif of thrilling audiences with things they claim to abhor to the absolute max. He does this by staging a film within a film. We, Tarantino's audience, view a Nazi audience piggishly devouring their violent propaganda. Moments later, when violent justice befalls the Nazi audience, we, Tarantino's audience, are delighted. I see what you did there, Quentin. Additionally, there are at least two scenes of suspense that give even the great Alfred Hitchcock a run for his money. The opening scene where Christoph Waltz's Hans Landa interrogates the German farmer, and the scene goes on and on and on, and it keeps getting more interesting. And the basement pub scene. Legendary. Ooh, that's a bingo! You just say bango. Back to the Future takes the day, though, with 3/4 of the votes.
Two little mice fell into a bucket of cream. 2002's Catch Me If You Can was directed by Steven Spielberg, and it was based on the true story of Frank William Abagnale, one of the world's most elusive and notorious con men, who successfully portrayed a Pan-American pilot, lawyer, and doctor. The dissolution of Frank's parents' marriage, along with the realization that his father is something of a fraud and a failure, serves as the impetus for Frank to begin his life of crime. He feels cheated by the circumstances of his own life and decides to, in turn, begin cheating the world. His increasingly bold acts of deception feel like manifestations of revenge that he's meting out on the cosmos for dealing him such a losing hand in life. After he assumes his new persona and new life as a con man, we learn that Frank, through his interspersed interactions with his father, believes he can and is actively striving to repair his broken family. It's a heartbreaking and hopeless ambition that I'm sure resonates deeply with those who can relate. Frank's foil, federal agent Carl Hanratty, is played by Tom Hanks. I am Carl Hanratty. And eventually relates to Frank that he, too, suffers pain and regret from his own failed marriage. Hanratty becomes something of a surrogate father to Frank, realizing that he's just a kid, Barry Allen, Secret Service, and ultimately helps Frank utilize his unique talents for good rather than ill. This is a fantastic film that underachieved in this tournament.
1994's Pulp Fiction is a tale of several characters interweaving stories. Star-studded cast includes Samuel L. Jackson, Bruce Willis, Uma Thurman, John Travolta, each of whom lives by their own code of ethics that, when slightly infracted by another, leads to revenge and violence that is as harrowing as it is humorous. Seriously, the only way that Pulp Fiction does not shock your sensibilities is if you've already seen Pulp Fiction before. Part of Tarantino's genius is to let the story go wherever there is tension, to put a lid on it and simmer until it explodes. It is absolutely gripping. And for my money, this is Tarantino's best picture. The Beast claims another victim, though, narrowly defeating Pulp Fiction, 51 to 49%.
Oh, Captain, my Captain. 1989's Dead Poet Society is a story about a group of young men attending an all-male elite prep school that emphasizes tradition, authority, and orthodoxy. Early in the film, the viewer gets the impression that most of these boys have already charted the course for their lives. Enter new English teacher, Mr. John Keating, played by the late Robin Williams, an inspirational, sanguine romantic who emphasizes individuality, free thinking, and self-expression. We don't read and write poetry because it's cute. We read and write poetry because we are members of the human race. And the human race is filled with passion. Medicine, law, business, engineering, these are noble pursuits and necessary to sustain life. But poetry, beauty, romance, love, these are what we stay alive for. This movie made me want to become an English professor, something that I did for a short time. I had the pleasure of discussing the film with my students at Abilene Christian University, and recall us attempting to tackle the difficult, uncomfortable question of who bore the responsibility for Neil's suicide. It's tempting and easy to lay it all at the feet of his domineering father, who forbade Neil's participation in the play and unleashed a draconian response when Neil did not comply. But should we completely absolve Keating, even if we believe, as I do, that his intentions were noble? Keating himself was an alumnus of the school, and thus intimately familiar with its culture and its strictures. Were his ambitions with the group of young boys naive in some sense? This is a wonderful, tragic story. It'll always be important to me.
What is Treadstone? The Bourne Identity is a 2002 action thriller based on Robert Ludlum's novel of the same name. It somehow felt more realistic than contemporary spy movies while being just as entertaining. And although my father once called Matt Damon a poor man's Tom Cruise, I think the series grew on him. And in all seriousness, as a youth, the careful discernment and actionable competency of Jason Bourne left an impression on me about what it meant to be a man in a complex and dangerous world. A classic action flick I can go back to any time, The Bourne Identity went head-to-head with action superhero favorite The Dark Knight. The Batman's shadow looms long today, having gathered 3/4 of the vote.